This will not persist. Noise is bad. If this persists, I will give up. Always property for it. One, two, three, four. There we go. Okay, well, welcome to our Lost Pine Garden Club. Let's start with who's any first-time guests? Oh, good.
Yeah.
How do you all, well, you've all been here before, so that's a good thing. Let's start off with the,
Pull that away from your mouth. Pull it away.
that's good. Okay, let's start off with, is that the good volume?
Loud,
It's loud or too loud?
almost too loud.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's see here. Welcome to our garden club. And we'll start off with the treasurer's report.
Yes, we have in the bank, we have $2,026.62.
And then the secretary's report.
Our October minutes were sent out to everybody. If you got a chance to read them, if you didn't. We had 13 members and like 2 guests here last month. Norman went over a few projects that were going on that I didn't specifically tell what they are. But the new business is about, we discussed supporting the Smithville Recreation Center. We made 2 raised bed gardens for them. And the Smithville Ladies Garden Club is going to take care of the plants, and they planted them. We did the bed and we did all the tree in there. But we would like to give them, and then they're going to take charge of it. And we want to give them $250 so that we can say we also help in Bastrop County. And then Logan McMillan, the Texas Forest Ranger, talked about wildfire risk reduction. And our minute, we finished at 8:20 p.m. Any changes in the minutes? Nope. Any? Red is they're accepted in red.
A small detail. We'll be talking more about, I'm pretty enthusiastic about projects, partly because our club should be relevant members of the community. And we'll talk more about the project we talked about raised bed. We have 2 programs tonight, me and Kirk. We're talking about innovative gardening, but one of the things we're talking about is raised bed gardens. So what we did is we put in a raised bed garden out at the Smithville Recreation Center. You're going to see a little bit more about that in a couple minutes. And the idea is to have that there for essentially posterity. So we did it in conjunction with the city of Smithville. There with the public works department, the mayor, the city managers all into the rec center. Go to the rec center in Smithville, it's incredible. It's like 20,000 square feet, they have racquetball courts, they have a whole bunch of stuff. It's a cool thing. So in front there's a raised bed garden. So we do. So, and one of the things we'd like to do is our board, we discussed this last time. What we did, this raised bed garden we did at the Smithville Center. This was a family legacy project where Jan and I paid for most of it because it's something we believe in. But the Smithville Garden Club we're collaborating with, they said they'd take care of the maintenance if we built it, so it's all done, built. And to have us have some role in it, we just propose that our club gives $250 to help subsidize the cost of it. So what we'd like to do is have a vote on do we want to contribute $250 to this project? Yes.
I move that we donate $250 to the raised bed.
Good. Thank you. And second? Second. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Let it be so. It's already planted. What we did is, I'm big on projects that have longevity. Essentially, what I'd like to do is have projects outlive us. That's our goal. And by having this thing out there, and we made a point of collaborating with the city. There's various organizations who start projects and don't follow through. And with this thing, by coordinating with the city council and all that stuff when you do a project, then they buy into it. They had the public works people there.
Plants there.
They had plants there.
Right here.
So what we'll do is we help them become a National Wildlife Federation certified wildlife habitat. And so the thing there, when you go there, and the club is invited to make inputs into this. And we want to have plants that are beautiful and plants support wildlife. So when you go out there, you'll see things like support pollinators like bees and hummingbirds and that stuff. So it's worth a trip. So anyhow, let's move on to our main program.
We saw it today, Mark.
Excuse me?
We saw it today. We saw it.
Oh, you did?
Yes. It's nice.
Well, it's supposed to be there. We made it out of, it's 2 3-foot by 16-foot beds. Sprinkle license, there we go. Should come later in a second.
Norman?
Yes.
We need to talk about next month's meeting.
Oh, yes, let's talk about next month's meeting, the new business thing. Next month's meeting, it's essentially, normally have a program now, we can have people talk about their experiences, good, bad, or different with the gardens. But finally, I'd just like to have a party now. Are you in charge of it?
Yeah, as of tonight.
Okay, could you introduce your grand plan?
At regular time meeting for next month, it'll be December 12th, potluck. But everybody was just gonna bring potluck before I found out there was $2,000 in the budget, so maybe you could supply the meat, that's what Tawana did last year. So somebody, maybe have a meat and then everybody did potluck. And bring a gift that's non-gendered for somebody that would be male or female that they would like, $25, $25. And come at the regular time. Is it 6:30 or 6:30? Okay. And yes, it's nice. We'll set up the tables and have a potluck. So that's it.
What we can do is we can plump supply the meat, but if you have other things,
Yeah.
but you never, whatever we get, not everyone likes. So you bring whatever you like. Pop-ups are great
Yeah.
because it automatically works with 2 people or 100. So with this, what we do is you can have a Lauren Hardy show to me and Kirk. And I'll be talking for half the time, and Kirk will be talking for half the time. So that's kind of deal. Let's see, I'll be talking about innovative gardening techniques. And 2 things, one is raised bed and one is hydroponics. So what we'll do is I'll give an overview of somewhat innovative gardening techniques. And one of the things is to talk about practical local project. I'll be doing kind of a light overview of some of the techniques because most of you are kind of pretty experienced gardeners. I'm not going to preach to the choir too much. But one of the things is to be interactive. So if you have some profound thoughts, I think that's a terrible idea or a good idea. Or in my experience, I've done this and this, this. But gardening in our area is an opportunity and challenge. If you try and raise stuff in Texas, assuming you're in Kentucky or Pennsylvania, you're not going to do too well. So I'll be talking about some raised bed gardening techniques project, and Kirk will be talking more about that. And the 2 other projects we have is the Smithville Rec Center, and we'll talk some about that. And there's some other example projects, and Kirk will have some good examples of that because he's been there and done that. I'll be talking about hydroponics gardens, and one of the main projects there is industry intensify. But essentially the main goal of this thing is these programs are intended to support gardeners supporting gardeners. That's what it's about. Raised beds. Essentially they're a better way. If you try and grow plants in soil in Texas, you're going to find the ground is frequently dry and hard, and the soil might not be so great. The beauty about a raised bed garden is you're removing the soil as a variable. So what you're doing is you're making a frame. I suspect a number of you tried that. But you make a frame and you fill it up with plenty of mixture. And then you do appropriate irrigation. And now you control the environment. So what you're doing is you're controlling the drainage. And you also have something more convenient. Because you can make them, if you so choose, you can make them table height. And most people do that. In our case, at Smithville, it's about this way off the ground. So you don't have to bend over quite so much. So it's kind of attractive in that way. And then so it works out good for plants or vegetables. And then the soil is not compacted. typical garden soil turns into dirt, into rock, in short order. In this case, the main tool you have for cultivation is these. If you can't cultivate a raised bed garden with either small trowel or your hands, something's wrong. Because you're putting in raised bed planting mixture, and it's should not compact, and you never walk out. Is one of the things too. One of the things when you do a raised bed garden, you should be able to have it no more than 4 feet deep. So you should be able to reach and go inside and do your thing. And so it can be more productive. Now there's this link. I'm going to send all these slides, myself and Kirk's, out. So I'll post it to the website, and you'll be able to access the slides. So we can do a after quiz. The procedures, again, I'm not going to belabor this because most of you are kind of familiar with what's involved here, so just touch on some high points. Step one is decide what you want to do anyways. And what's your goals? You want to raise fruits, vegetables, pollinators, what do you want to do? And from that, then it follows, where do you want to put it? And then what kind of plants do you want? And then select a site. In this case, we did the thing in Smithville. It was city property, so we proposed this. And we had to meet with the owners of the property. If you do it at your house, you decide everything. If you're doing things in public service projects, I'm a fan of it, I've done a bunch of them, you have to coordinate with the owners. If you want longevity, you have to coordinate with the owners of the property by law, and then you get to buy it. Like we've done birdhouse and other things. If you get the buy-in of the city, in this case it's a city property, we've done projects in Bastrop and Smithville, coordinate with the city. First, they won't object to you doing it because it's a win-win from their standpoint. So in this case, the site selection included, we want to put this kind of garden here, and we're going to do all the work, and we're going to make your facility better. So, no brainer. So it's just good for them. And of course, they're interested in longevity because, like I was talking to someone who did, one of the things when you do an organization, if you start a project, you don't want to neglect it. So that's what this is about. Raised bed garden or gardens in general is no maintenance, does not work. If you've ever seen neglected garden beds, I'm sure none of us have ever had that kind of thing. We maintain our beds perfectly, and those are pristine all year long, right? So anyhow, what you do is you install a good planting mixture and consider it semi-permanent asset. So it's there. It doesn't wear out. You kind of top it off with compost or maybe some organic fertilizer, but it's there forever. Once you bit the bullet, don't skip on your planting mixture. Like in the case of the Smithville thing, we got 3 cubic yards, which is a fair amount. See, Smithville applied it. What a deal. They had their guy, so we said, put it here. Got done. So $75 a cubic yard. You can have
Deliver the shop.
basically what the deal is, again, according to the city. So they showed up with young men because we're mostly old farts. And they showed up with young men in a truck. I said, fill her up. You got done.
That makes raised beds a lot easier.
You can get young men to do your work for you.
Yes.
So we had to buy the raised bed mixture, but 75 a cubic yard is a fair amount. I'm big on buying compost. I know purists say I'm going to save my garden waste. I'm in instant gratification, which is here's my charge card, $75 and 3 cubic yards, which is a fair amount, and it's done. It's there. It's nice friable stuff, so it's a good thing. And
So what is what you buy locally?
well, you have a decision to make. If you're talking about a modest amount, a good place is Lowe's. You get like a 3/4 cubic yard bag, or a couple cubic foot, or something, I don't remember exactly. It's a trade-off. You have to do a financial trade-off. In our case, we need 3 cubic yards. So if we did buy the bags, it would cost twice as much. Now in our case, we bought at a local Smithville nursery as opposed to organics. My gosh, I'm a huge fan of those guys. It would cost less money, but we wanted to buy local. So we shop from them, but just, ask them, we want your good quality planting mix. Don't want that crap stuff. And And they'll have that. So we got it from nursery in Smithville, and it got installed. But don't skip on that. And you install irrigation. And then irrigation is key, not too much, not too little. And smart drip irrigation works out good. Install plants. Install some mulch. With mulch, don't overdo it. We'll probably have an inch of mulch out there. Because if your plants are, you have 12 inches of good quality soil, and you have drip irrigation, just put down just enough, and you water every so often. You don't need to have mulch. Is one of those things that's you see the mulch volcanoes. Mulch is good news and very rapidly can become bad news, and you don't really need it, but you need some. But again, be prepared for some maintenance, and that's where our deal is. The deal with the Smithville Garden Club ladies, a bunch of old ladies, even older than our, believe it or not. They said, "We'll take care of you and maintain it." They said, "Fine." So this is the thing we did there. So the idea is to solve a garden in a space at the rec center, and to transform a space into something which was yucky, something which was nice. This is essentially one of my slides from when I met with those guys. And then we want to have a model. If you want to have this sort of thing, now one of the opportunities our garden club have, if we can do it at the Smithville Rec Center, you can do it kind of anywhere. Because at the rec center, it's incredibly hot. Every time after noon, it gets a blazing Texas sun. The ground is nigh under concrete. And so if you can do it there, you can do it anywhere. So if you have somewhere you like to try this at, you can try it at your house, but if you want to try it at some public space, again, our club just said, "Hey, we're going to chip in." We're doing things that we've done projects at both parks in Smithville and that. So if you can think of, there's a volunteer opportunity. The cost of doing one of these things is pretty small. So anyhow, the idea is to do this is what tend to be a model of a garden done in a challenging area. So that the approach is we consult with experts. I'm not a junior gardener. But the main thing is to consult with other experts and say, you should do this and this and this and this. This is the deal. And we decide, we again, this is kind of based upon somewhat on the square foot gardening, which you heard, which is typically 4 foot by 4 foot squares. This is 3 foot by 16 foot rectangles. And the idea of a 3 foot by 3 foot thing, it's essentially this except longer. And you should be able to do all your maintenance like this. And you never walk in the thing. And then the ground never gets compacted. Life is good. We installed the drip irrigation, so you get just amount of water. In a raised bed garden, if you try and water with a hose, it gets tiresome, you end up putting in too much. In this case, we have the drip irrigation, so with low emitters, I'll talk about that in a second. You put an emitter, goes drip, 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 drip. And you'd be surprised how that adds up. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a web camera, because we're going to show this thing as a process. This is funded mostly by our Janice and my family as a family legacy project. We've done benches and other stuff. But then we want to complement other initiatives. And then one of our things too by US, Smithville's a genius in grants. If you heard the movie Other People's Money, they're good at that. By having local content, this little project should lead to more things, because when you're going after grants, if you're a grant administrator, I need $800,000 for this. But the local folks believe in this thing enough to chip in their time, talents, and traders to this. So I envision this being transformed into more money by the city. So again, your left labor goes further. So I know the idea of the status of it is we're trying to serve as a model for elsewhere, and it's done. There's two, so you've been out there, it's 2 3 foot by 16 foot beds, and then there's 3 cubic yards of raised bed mixture, and then the Smithville Garden Club. Again, it's a collaborative effort because we all bring different things to the party. They installed the plants, it's largely completed, but then there'll be some refinements like with plants. You can plant stuff in July, you can stamp it in January, and you probably have the same plants. You just have to be prepared to rip them out. Irrigation design. The idea is we're doing drip irrigation. So we have the 1/4 inch tubing. And we install kind of like a snake, like this, a zigzag pattern. So it starts in the back bed, works its way through, and it makes a circuit. Because with drip irrigation, you don't have a pressure drop. So we come out of the hose bed, which they had there. They had to fix the hose bed. Again, by coordinating with the city, we said, you promised the hose bed, and your hose bed don't work. We'll take care of it. So we made the hose bed work. So we come out of the hose bed, we go to a smart timer, pressure regulator. It comes out here, goes zoop, 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 and hops over the bed, zoop, 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 and goes back and starts all over again. Because connecting both ends means that the pressure is more or less equal on those things.
Are you using drip tubing
Yes.
that has the emitters?
Yeah, you'll see a picture of that in a second. You've now, okay, you've already ahead of the course. But what we want to do is use smart irrigation. You want to have a smart timer because you don't want to, not too much water is worse than not enough. So you want to have enough drainage to avoid having plants have wet feet because they can drown. So we have PVC pipes in there. We have a smart controller there. And the idea is this thing actually connects by the internet.
There's a PVC pipe?
Well, the PVC pipe, what the PVC pipe is, we took half-inch PVC. So let's say this is a bed. We took PVC pipe, drilled a bunch of holes in it, and we put it at the bottom. In case they overfilled it, you never want your raised bed to become a lake. So you want to make sure that it's drainage. You don't want to make your raised bed watertight for sure.
So it's just in the bottom?
Just in the bottom. So what we did is we took, you'll see two little PVC pipes sticking out the ends, and they should never have water in them. But if they do, we don't make the thing watertight anyways. But if you put too much water, which is very easy to do, then some could flow out there. So that's another little thing. The smart timer actually knows that it's hot, cold, rainy, or wet. So that's the deal with this. We're still getting this thing figured out. Smart timing means it should be unattended. In this case, you can actually go to your app and turn it on or off. It's pretty cool. And it came from a specialty place called Amazon. $62.37. Such a deal. There's an app on your phone. Good for many things. I have two versions at our house. We have two 16-zone systems at our house, which have another version of this. And it's pretty cool because it gets hot and cold, there's no thinking involved. And there's a pressure regulator, backflow preventer, and a filter. You don't want backflow to go back into potable water. There's a filter. I mean, it's city water, so it's not going to be bad. But if you're running a well, this could be a big deal. Drip emitter, as essentially, this is kind of cool stuff. It's cheap enough. You can get a whole roll of it for not much money. And what you have is a little emitter. An emitter is not a hole. The problem with a hole is it tends to fill up with roots. But they're actually calibrated. Each thing is, I think the one we got is like half a gallon per minute per emitter. So when you look at it, you see drip, drip, drip. And it doesn't sound like much. When you get done with it in 10 minutes, you've done, like in our case, with 50 feet, you've done like 12 gallons per bed, which in one sense is a lot of water, but compared to traditional irrigation techniques, it's nothing, which is one of the points of this thing is very efficient in terms of water. So that's the reason for that. So moisture and weed control, essentially by having this kind of controlled environment, we didn't start with any weeds. What we did is we put newspapers and cardboard at the bottom of the raised beds, and it's going to just rot away. We'll put some weed fabric down. I'm not a fan of weed fabric anyways. Put some down there, mostly on the sides. And then so the cardboard, and then so we did some newspapers, and we did a little layer of mulch on the top. But that's actually, it's for water distribution and parents. People like to see mulch, but you don't need, mulch does not work very good for weed control. Now there's a progress. This is what it looks like in September. And then so we started the thing in September, when it was 1,000,000 degrees. And so as it progressed on, this shows the various stages. This was pretty much largely completed in October. So that's myself or one of my nephews. And then so as we proceed on, so it took like a month to do something like that. But it was a significant project, done on a part-time basis. So this is kind of nearly completed. This now does not show the mulch is not on top, and we're gonna ultimately have permanent signs on that. The permanent signs are gonna say, when you come up to garden bed and you look at the plants now, some of you are very smart, you can look at this and say, this is there for swelling. Someone like me might not know. So the idea is we're gonna have a dynamic sign there so it's changeable. And then as the plants get changed in January and July, people know it, and also have the purpose. When you go there, you'll see a sign there. This plant of Urbina, or whatever it was, it kind of has a purpose, like for pollinators.
So Norman, you can't access it from that far side?
Yes,
You can from both sides?
and you can access it from all four sides. With a raised bed garden,
Yeah.
you should be able to access it from all four sides. It just so happens, a traditional square foot garden is 4 by 4. In this case, 3 foot worked out very nicely. So you can get around the back, you can around the sides. It goes out to the sidewalk, as you can see. You get in between, so it works out good. That hose is not going to be there. It just happens to be there. They want to do the water by hand to establish.
Oh,
So one of the things we want to do is get the National Wildlife Federation certified habitat. We've done this a number of times. We've even done it at a ranch. Essentially what you're doing when you're getting certification, you say, our ranch is great. But really what you're doing is you're documenting what you're doing anyways. In this case, you're doing the bend and the golf, all this stuff. And you fill out a form, and you get this sign, and you put it up. We've done this at Riverbend Park. We've done this at Fisherman's Park. And we have a nice 18 inches by 24 inch sign, which says this place is hereby a certified wildlife habitat. And ultimately, one of our goals too is get both cities to be certified wildlife cities. Another project. One of the things we're going to do is do video recording to show. Like if you go to a website, I'll have this presentation on there with a series of pictures, because in a garden looks different in July and September and January. We want to have a series of pictures to document the results. And so that's kind of deal. What we'd like to do, if we can deal with some security questions, install this camera on the house eve, on the eve at the rec center, so you can look at it throughout the year. Hydroponics garden.
Norman.
Put through this quickly.
Norman.
Question?
Yes.
So is there gonna be like a website so you could go on, like if you don't get to drive over there and look at it, so you could go online and look at what's growing right now and what?
Yes. Now, right now, there's 2 ways. Right now, the website you're going to go to is the Los Baton Garden Club website, which I maintain. So my thing there is there's a camera approach, and that's what I'm going to migrate to. If you go there now, it's just me taking the pictures every so often. And my intention is to have a little library of plants. So the deal is the ladies will probably maintain it, and as the thing changes, it's not necessarily a picture every day of the garden, but it's nice to have every so often. But you're going to see that if you go to the Garden Club website and you look at projects, there's one of the projects, you go there, you can see a series of like 12 pictures, and that number of pictures is going to evolve with the passage of time. Because it's nice, part of the thing is about education and what worked and what didn't work. With gardening, not everything you try works. So that's the camera thing. Hydroponics gardening is something I'm enthusiastic about. This again could be a project we do. So benefits, it can be a do-it-yourself project, grow plants faster. And so as a community service project, it could be nice for that, because you can do gardening in an innovative way. So again, it's gardening without dirt, essentially. This is an example. This happens to be done by a nephew. He has indoor gardens and outdoor gardens, and it works out very nicely. This is an industrial size thing. This is done by, this happens to be, this one is in a shipping container. And it's made to emulate a spot in Italy. And it's just incredibly productive. This is a very large facility. This picture is like a lot of acres. Whether you know it or not, a lot of food you eat, the better quality food is from hydroponics, because it's done under controlled conditions. So this is one of the projects which we're supporting. Again, we're the opposite of our club supporting more. But industry hands up high. Now, Pastor Roland Nava was supposed to be here, but he could not make it tonight. But it's an incredible ministry. They have a transitional housing shelter. They deal with children with PTSD. So the deal there is they have a person who volunteered to take care of things. Again, gardening is no maintenance, it's all some days. The key with this kind of thing is you have to have someone or a couple people stick up their hands and willing to actually take care of the thing. So this happens to be the nutrient solution, and with an aerator, we have a solution pump and a heater thermostat. In principle, it's going to be made to work year round. And then, so this is status there. And then basically the purpose of that is to A, educational, B, raise things like lettuce to serve their facility. And the other is it's educational so that people can actually learn to grow their own stuff. You know, people talk about food self-sufficiency, but particularly if you're in an apartment where you have a little plot of land or you don't know what's involved, it's not a practical thing. With this, with hydroponics gardening, you can be more than 3 times as effective in terms of space. It uses nigh to no water, no evaporation, no pests, no weeds, so it has certain virtues. And then the one thing is this is enclosed by poultry netting. So you can use an enclosure with plastic sheeting, put a heater, and you can grow stuff year round. They have an issue with squirrels and raccoons. They enclose the whole thing in poultry netting. So this was helped, but I'm also a member of the garden club as a leader of this project. But an offer is if anyone would like to be involved in this thing and see it. He has an amazing facility out there, and it caters to battered women. So a typical client there is a single woman with issues and a couple kids. Yes.
Where is it located?
It's 95, you take 95 north, and it's like 5 miles. It's worth it. If we wanted to do a field trip, I could arrange it at any time. It's incredible. Look up Industry Hands Up High, their website. It's worth the trip. It's a program because he deals with people with issues, and people with issues, it's not like I'm going to take a shot for it and proof I'm cured. This thing is that you'll have a program, you're going to be there for probably months, and you're going to be put to work, and you're going to learn stuff. So they have a shelter there for soldiers with PTSD, frequently in the military, get out of the Army as a machine gunner in the Marine Corps. They have issues. So it's a great ministry. So again, an offer, if you'd like to see any of this thing, I could arrange a tour or even a meeting there. It's an amazing facility. So this is a summary of, things like innovative gardens can improve the chance of success with gardens, and particularly in an area where it's hot and dry, and it's water and space efficient. Traditional agriculture is incredibly inefficient. A tremendous amount of our water gets used in agriculture, which is all fine and dandy, but it's unbelievably inefficient. So in this case, we're doing this stuff, we're putting it where it belongs. It's less work, and it's an opportunity for projects. If you can think of a spot that would be appropriate, we did this at the rec center. If you can think of somewhere, a cool place to do this can be emulated anywhere. So that's think about that. With that, that's a no more question. Move on to our next part. Could you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Kurt Hubble. I live in Driftwood. I've lived in the Austin area for probably 25 years. I work for a high-tech company. We sell software to lots of big companies. And square foot gardening is my hobby on the side. So what I'll be doing is just going through a couple of gardens that I've built over the years, how I learned how to do it, and what I learned along the way. 2011, in the backyard, I decided for Christmas vacation I was going to make a garden. I knew absolutely nothing about gardening. I'd never heard of a raised bed. I just thought I'd go out there and dig a trench, plant some seeds, and wonder what happened. By a remarkable coincidence, my son-in-law, that very Christmas, 2 days before I was going to go out there with my shovel, for Christmas gave me the square foot garden in the book, Parthol, changed everything. You'll see some pictures of the garden I put together. Use stone, but I tried to do everything like he said to do it, and it's actually turned out really nice. That's my nephew right here, Rich Bags. So, I think I started off back here, just putting stacked stones, a little rectangle. I made nails mix and got a little garden going. And then I did a second one here, I put a squirrel there. And then along the way I decided to put some more in and actually put some structure in it. Next thing I knew, I needed a fence around there, and so it just kind of grew like this. In that book, Square Foot Garden, some goodies in here too, that's how. So I have the Square Foot Garden book here, and Alec brought one there if you want to look at it before he left. For the soil inside, Norm mentioned that you don't use dirt, you use something else. And I use Mel's Mix. And Mel's Mix is 1/3 peat moss, 1/3 vermiculite, and 1/3 compost. And he makes a point that you want a variety of compost, worm casting, you just get maybe 5 bags of different types. So variety is king. I like variety. So then you mix all that together, and you might recall on the these are all the short ones. They're about this high. And so I put the cardboard in the bottom, maybe some landscape fabric, put Mel's Mix in, and you might be able to see the grid pattern, the square foot. You take the garden space and put a structure inside there of 1 square foot. And in this one I used PVC. I took the pipes and had the T sections and put it all together. And then some plants, as described in the book, some plants you put 1 per square foot, some plants you put 4. If you do radishes, you can put 16 radishes in there. And so you can get a lot of plants inside a square foot. And then I had a great idea of drilling holes in the PVC and use that for irrigation. So I hooked that up to my sprinkler system, so now it just automatically irrigates. And so the structure for the square foot and the irrigation were integrated together.
So you used PVC instead of string to?
Yes, I used PVC because I used it to create the format of the square feet all over. And then I just drilled holes in it and put the hose up to it.
So you
One of the attributes of the irrigation tubing, it's calibrated. They'll tell you it's going to be like 1/2 gallon per minute. The other thing is that irrigation controller includes a water meter. With this kind of irrigation, it's very easy to put on too much.
So anyway, that garden I enjoyed for 10 years. Planted all kinds of things in there. Things I learned. You might look, there's a slow angle here. That's the way the yard went. I didn't think much about it when I was building it. But had I to do it over, I would have made it level. Because over a season, all the Mel's Mix would kind of drift towards one end. And that made it a little bit complicated. Composting. Well, you can see I had one of those little spinners that you get those or something like that. It never worked out for me. It was always a problem. I'd be putting, vegetable scraps in there, paper, trying to get the formula right. Because I was always putting stuff in and it never finished. And so it was always just getting stinkier and stinkier and stinkier. And then maybe once every year or two, I just bury it in the bottom of one of these beds. I did corn one year. I never knew how many corns could be so delicious. I learned that when you harvest an ear of corn, half of the sweetness goes away in the first 24 hours. And so it's like you break it and you run in to cook it. I harvested 4 ears. We had a delicious meal. Oh, it was so wonderful. And the next morning I went out and there was no corn left. The squirrels got it. It broke my spirit on corn, which you'll see. I've been revived. But I didn't grow corn for several years after that. And then ultimately, in this garden, I did grow corn again, but I put a little electric fence around it, just to keep the squirrels away. That worked out pretty good.
Did the squirrels eat anything else?
No, they left everything alone except for that. And I don't know if any of you, now this is backyard vegetable gardening, but if you do summer squash and zucchini, get these vine borers, they're horrible. I mean, I hate those things. But every plant that I did, I'd get 1 or 2 pieces of zucchini or something, and then the vine borers would take it over. And in that garden, I've never had success finding. How many have ever had trouble with vine borers on squash? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Just a little proof that this year, not a one.
Why did
I'll tell you how I did it.
Okay, what did you do?
We have to wait for that. Okay, so we sold that house, and this is so funny. In the picture that their realtor took, looking at the house, the whole family that bought the house were all standing around the garden looking in there. I'm convinced that garden helped sell our house. So we have a new house now, and I did another garden. You can see it looks very different, but some similarities. I used commercial raised bed, Birdie is the brand, and there's no bottom on them. They're just the oval. You buy them and they assemble them. You'll notice that I've got a couple that are 2 feet high, and then a couple that are 4 feet high. Mel's mix is not cheap. I mean, when you buy that stuff, it can be expensive. And you really only want to use 6 to 12 inches of the expensive mix when you do a garden. So now you've got 3 feet underneath it. What are you going to do in there? Well, we also had a red oak tree that died. This is me right here. I was going to show you the video of me cutting the tree down, but unfortunately it was 150 megs. And it wouldn't go online, so I didn't do it. But I threw the chainsaw, and this is just after the tree landed. You can see all the branches flying up. The wood from that tree, I chopped up into big chunks and used it to fill the raised beds all the way up to here. It's just like gold. I mean, I got quotes for $1,000 to haul that stuff off. And I just chopped it up, and it saved me probably another $1,000 in filling.
So that wood will eventually.
Yes, it'll decompose. Yeah, decompose. And I saw a video the other day of someone who was instrumental in teaching me to do that. He had a raised bed that was 3 years old, and they put wood in there, and they pulled the raised bed out, and they analyzed the soil, and they could see all the wood that they had in there was starting to decay. It'll probably take 10 or 15 years to fully decay, but there were worms up in there. It was stinky, but super interesting.
I did that about 4 or 5 years ago, and I just got it out the branches and bottom.
Yes, so I put the big chunks of wood on the bottom, and then medium size laid out, and then leaves and stuff to roll it out. And after I did the first bed like that, on all the others, I also got some organic hardwood mulch. And I just put like this much in and kind of push my fingers to kind of fill in all the nooks and crannies.
What keeps it from, when you put the good stuff on the soil on top, what keeps it from all just filtering down in between?
It's pretty full because not only the wood, I put them in side by side touching, and then all the others, the smaller pieces you put on top of that and mulch. Some of it does go in there. And eventually, it'll probably drop this much and kind of fill in all the nooks and crannies.
Your birdie concept is interesting. I've never seen that. I've seen a version, I think Peggy talked about this. Use these Tractor Supply or whatever as stock tanks. And just drill a bunch of holes in the bottom. I'm not sure if that's cost effective compared to your birdies or not.
Well, the thing I've learned, if you're going for cost effective, this is more of a fun hobby with good organic food. If you're trying to save money, this could be a hard thing to do to save money. It's not that expensive, but it's something to splurge on. I like to buy little gizmos and things around the house. And I like to say, what did you buy? Just something important for the garden. Okay, instead of doing the PVC, I found a product called Garden Grid Watering System. that comes with the grid, you tell them 2x6, 2x8, 4x4, and it's already together. You just set it in the garden, and then I hook the irrigation system up to it. So that was really handy.
So those things are not the same as like those feed troughs?
No. There's no bottom on these. And each, like this is a piece, that's a piece, this is a piece, and these are all screws. I had to assemble it all myself. And it took on average 2 hours for each one of those.
What's it made of?
It's made of steel, old steel. Surprisingly strong.
Will this last you lifetime sale?
Yes. Raised bed gardening offers a lifetime of learning. I mean, you learn so many things. Half the things you learn don't work. And all of a sudden you think of a stupid idea and it works like great. Now I'm an expert telling everybody, you're not going to do this one. Before I learned what I learned this year, and I don't know if it's going to work forever, but the vine borer problem. This is before that. Vine borers. So I was a plant surgeon. I got in there with my knife and I cut open these things and I found vine borers and pulled them out and tied string and tape around it, and they still die.
That's what you were trying to do?
Yeah, that's some of my surgery. You don't want me doing surgery around you, I'll tell you that.
In one of our garden presentations, they said that you injected the needle like a PhD.
Yes, I have done that too. Yes. They're already in there. And by the time you find them, they call it frass, it's oozing out. Okay, here's tips along the way. I'll share every tip that I could think of that I learned while I was doing this. But the most important tip, when you meet with other gardeners, and I will say this, if you are a gardener, especially a square foot gardener, you're already my friend. Hi, friends. You are already my friend. But everybody has ideas, and some people's ideas there's a lot of passion there. And if I were to say, well, I'm not going to do that because it won't work, I'm hurt feeling. So you really want to be sensitive to everybody else's passion. They all have ideas, I'll try them out. Sometimes something will work really good one season, like for example, my vine borer solution that I'll put. Next year it might work again, or it might not work next year. But I don't want someone telling me I'm not for trying it. So I just throw that, have fun, be open, but don't be dogmatic. We're in here to have a lot of fun with stuff. Okay, the vine borer. This is a summer squash. See how pretty that is? And look how big that is. This is a tomato trellis. And so what I did when I planted that little squash, I put a tomato trellis. I read about this, and I did it. And now, instead of flopping over on the garden with the leaves and all that stuff and getting kind of stinky under there, it goes straight up. And so really the maintenance, they do two things. One, when a new leaf would come out, it kind of pushed it above the next ring. And kept the bottom tidy, tidy, tidy. I would cut anywhere there on one of these leaves, I'd cut it off. So you can see all these that I've cut. And just to be on the safe side, I don't know if it helped or not, but I did take the BT, and I would just kind of spray the stalk with it. But it's airy in there, the sun is shining on it, and I don't know if you've ever gone to the extent of looking for the little eggs of the vine borers. They're tiny, 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 and they're black. They also have a little pinhead. And like this, you can see them. And so I did one day see several of them on there, and I just took my little knife and I picked them off. I don't know what would happen if I left them on. But this plant grew to its full life. I just pulled it out of the garden the other day, it kind of pulled up. Did not get a vine borer, and it just gave me plentiful squash. And so next year I'm going to buy a couple more of those tomato trellises and hope it works. Because it worked like a charm this year. I saw a YouTube video where I learned how to do it, and this guy had vine borer problems for years. He had 6 like this and 6 the old way. He said all 6 the old way got the vine borers, and none of these got the vine borers. I don't want to give you false hope. I experimented with one plant, but successfully. Here you can see, it's hooked up to my irrigation system, and each one of the beds I have a little valve, so I can kind of control how much water gets in there. It's not as precise as what Norman's talking about, but I run this, it's little holes in there, it comes in from 4 ways. I run it for 2 or 3 minutes a day. My irrigation system senses, it's connected to the internet, so if you have rain, it waters less. They did a good job this year. Corn. So lucky. No squirrels. This year, so you've got 6x4, it's 24 stalks of corn. This summer, I did 3 rounds of corn. I was so excited. And I planted, the first year I really messed up because I planted different varieties and it's all the same. You plant them all at once. And I would go out there, I did learn a little bit about pollinating corn. At a certain point, they start throwing pollen off and it falls down and gets in when the wind blows. If you get a steady breeze during those 2 or 3 days in one direction, you'll miss a few. So I take these capsules and shake them into a little piece of paper, blow them under there. And I would say for the most part, 9 out of 10 years were properly pollinated, and then you get a few of those like snappers. We would still eat those, by the way, they were still good. Anyway, the thing I learned about corn is I gave a very good bed preparation beforehand. I took the grid out and put in a full bag of high quality compost and then stirred it all around. The second round of corn, I tried to save a little bit of money and I just did some top dressing on top of it. And they weren't quite as good. The third round, I took the grid off again, put a full bag of high quality compost on there, stirred it all up, and they were just as good as the first one. So I think the key is if you try to get 3 rounds in the summer, which should be the goal of everyone, we plant smart in here. You want to, when they start getting ready, you want to harvest as many as you can, get them all harvested, freeze them if you need to, giving up some of that sugar, the sweetness of those that you freeze. But then get the new one planted quick, because it started to cool off when these were ready, and I got them all. But if I had waited an extra week in the middle, I might not have.
I'm amazed with the heat this summer, and you had 3 rounds. Wow.
Thank you. Okay, composting. I had a problem with that first one I told you about it. I don't know if this library has this or not. The little tiny library in Dripping Springs had it, and I checked it out. This is the science of composting. I've learned so much about composting that I didn't know or I didn't even know could be known. I just thought it was stinky stuff. But there are like 5 different ways of composting. And if I were just to summarize, it really depends on what type of property you have. Do you have big piles that you can put stuff in, no one will complain? How fast do you want your compost? How sensitive are you to stinky stuff? And from that you can navigate. I would recommend looking at that if you're unsure about how to do composting, because it's fascinating, the science of it. But I'm doing something, it's an experiment, mind you, that as far as I know, I didn't read anyone doing about this, I just learned. I'm putting my compost in a big trash can, and the unique thing, I experiment, so if I come back next year, I'll tell you what happened. No air holes. And they would call that anaerobic composting because there's no oxygen. And the negatives that they tell you is it stinks more. But I got a solid lid on it. Another negative is it takes longer. Well, I don't really care if it takes a whole year. But when this can gets full, then I'm going to buy a second can and let the first can stew for a full year. Now, you don't see it here, but way back in the corner, I had a 5-gallon plastic jug of a screw-on lid, and I was using it just for scraps in my garden. Just not paying attention to the formula of dry or green and brown, just throwing stuff in there. And it would get full, I'd put the lid on, and then a week or 2 later, I'd look and it's down this much, I'd throw some more stuff in there. And then I forgot about it for a long time. And when I opened it up, it was beautiful compost. No air holes, no worms, guy right here, I'm gonna put him right there. I'm not putting any extra water in there, but I do anticipate that over a year, water's gonna settle to the bottom, and instead of having slush, I'll lift that up and put it on a couple of bricks or something. You just open it up and leave it open all night long. You just make some compost tea out of that and close it back up. So that's my experiment. By the way, this is all that corn, that's it right there, all of it. I just took the stalks and run them through my chipper. And they're in that can.
The Jimmy, when you have your compost chip, they'll find it goes.
Yes. Now, the one thing I am doing is about once every 2 weeks, I take the lid off, and I got one of these deals that you kind of turn like that. It's got a little swivel thing in the bottom, and drill down in there and pull it up. So I am mixing it up a little bit. I think that's giving it enough air. Got a couple of extra flowers my wife enjoys that. She is so proud of the pretty flowers that she has growing in there. Okay. A couple things. First, kitchen rolls. Garden first. About once a week I go out there and I look and I figure out everything that's getting ready to pick. And I go and tell Ollie, my wife, to include in her recipes for the week those things. We let the garden choose as much as it wants to choose. So I've had gardens before where all the produce goes to waste. You do all this work and then it just sits there and goes bad. So I call that a kitchen rule. My wife does not like me eating her rules at all. For some reason she seems open to this. And then the peppers. One thing I've done with the peppers, and I will say I've got someone's going to walk out with this. Hot peppers. That's the hot pepper flakes. I was going to do a formula where I had so much of cayenne pepper, so much of serrano, so much of jalapeno, dry them out of dehydrator, it's going to dry them up. No, I'm letting the garden take the ratio. So this blend, which was dehydrated and grinded up, the garden picked by showing red peppers of the different varieties, and I just picked all the red ones. This summer hot. The things that did really good, the peppers, and we did a lot of fun meals with these peppers. And some of these are snack peppers, like miniature bell, or delicious to see in the store. Black-eyed peas did really good. The pepper, the plants did really good, but they didn't produce very much until it started to cool off. And then it was like a bounty of peppers. So that's why I put them on a summer blend. And then black-eyed peas, also cowpeas. My wife always tries to find those for New Year's Eve, New Year's Day for good luck and something like that. So they just produced and produced and produced. I got really fast at shelling them. Found some good recipes to cook them. I've got a big old bowl of them that I froze for New Year's Day. And then, I don't know if you heard these long beans are also called asparagus beans or Chinese long beans. They have, I never noticed it in HEB, but they have an HEB, but boy, do they look stinky. In the garden, prolific. Oh, they just keep going and going and going. But you get to pick when to harvest them. So when they're about this long, I also love yard long. But when they're about this long, before they get fat, that's when I cut them off and look like that. And then I dice them up, blanch them, put them in ice, and then put them in a little Ziploc bag. And I cook them like green beans. They're really in the pea family of the black-eyed peas, but they have to be blanched 5 minutes. Tender, because those are absolutely delicious. And they just kept going and going and going. I harvested some seeds. Somebody will get that. And let's see. Seed storage and organization. Now, if you plant 3 things, big deal. But if you're like me, I've got hundreds of different varieties and different seeds. I'm experimenting with this kind, experimenting with that kind. And this is a photo storage box. And it just so happens that packets of seeds fit in them really nice and you label them. So, if you want to organize solar. Took a picture of the pole to show you. Okay, questions? Now, I'll ask you some questions. If anyone has any questions about my experience, you can ask it now. Otherwise, I'll ask you some questions.
Just be sure to go back next year, Melissa, what you want.
That's a great comment, and because of that, you get to pick the first of many gifts. These are jalapenos pickled from my garden. These are sweet. These are pickled jalapenos savory. You already know what this is, hot pepper. And these are the long green seeds. You get to pick one. And there you go. Enjoy. Okay, any other one? Yes?
I grew butternut squash, and the boars didn't get up with that. I have butternut, I'm picking mine as we speak. The butternut squashes goes crazy and they're boars.
Wow.
The surgery was on one of the winter squashes. I can't remember which one. I also had several winter squashes that were not affected.
But you have to see her picture. She has those long beans you're talking about. Show me the picture.
I saw a picture. Go ahead.
Show me the one.
I saw a picture of the long beans for, you know, the archways of the garden. They
This
had,
one is the purple one.
yes.
Can you believe that? Look at that. Those panels.
So they turn purple when you let them grow up.
No, I got different, I
Oh,
got
these are
two
different.
kinds. I got long,
Yeah.
that one.
You're my friend.
That is amazing.
Okay, other question? Yes.
So do you have trouble with deer getting in your garden?
No, because you might remember I had a fence all the way around it. We do have deer. It's a 6-foot fence.
And that's high enough for...
So far, no deer has jumped over.
Do you have deer in the
Yes.
neighborhood?
Yeah, they're all over out there every day. I tried to grow watermelons, and they didn't do very good. They never ripened, so I just threw them out in the back, and the deer ate them all. They bust in half and gone the next day.
Your
Connie,
comment,
that is a great question. You get to pick one.
Oh.
Long beans, hot peppers.
I think I'd like to try the long bean seeds.
All righty.
But there's probably enough I could share with somebody.
Yeah, I probably got 15 of them in there.
Okay.
That's how many I planted, and it was,
So, what were your intervals for the corn, the date?
the first date, I think, was in late March, I planted them, and then as soon as they were harvested, I planted it that weekend, I planted more. Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
one of your comments about the squirrels was interesting. We did the thing out at the, in the stands up high. He says we have squirrels, we have raccoons, birds. So we made an enclosure out of 2x4s. They said if you provide the materials, we'll do the work. So that thing's like a 10-foot by 15-foot by 8-foot tall enclosure of poultry netting. Take care of everything.
Okay, two more, any other questions? And my question is, what did you plant this summer that did well?
Butternut squash. I'll Google it now.
Okay.
Hey, all my cilantro is in.
Okay, you get the big one. Savory jalapenos or hot peppers?
So you dry these and then you...
Yeah, dehydrated.
And then you put it in a blender?
Yes. Yeah, a blender, but
Then
You gotta do it outside too, because.
I did it inside, and I was sneezing all over the place. Okay. And who planted, yes.
My Egyptian onions, I thought they died, but they came back again.
Ah.
They're golden now.
That is nice. You get the final one.
Thank you.
Now, for that, you can sprinkle it on pizza. You can mix it with hamburger for a spicy hamburger, or any other thing that you want to use.
So you buy seeds from anybody?
Yes, I go onto the website and buy the seeds.
She said she got her beans, October beans, the beans, the long beans, the sparkle beans, I got some sparkles.
Okay.
From where?
The little beans, because I'm from the Philippines.
A delightful
My
audience.
sister, my
Thank you
sister,
very much.
Two prizes
We
normally.
have.
Oh, yes.
Prizes.
Okay, yes, we have a couple more prizes. Bert, would you like to pick a number between 1 and what? What?
13.
Pick between 1 and 13. 9. 9, who has a 9?
9 is Peggy.
Peggy, wait, so those are mine. Oh, you can do another one, you do it.
Okay, pick another. Okay, 4. 4, who's 4?
4.
4 is Kim Paul.
Ken. There you go.
Big prize over there. And one more.
One more, Ken. One more number.
This one, this one.
Okay, one more number.
Just put it, and then you
11. 11.
keep that period.
Who's 11? You would be.
11
What do you?
is Nita.
Oh,
Nita?
oh, me?
Yes, you would be. Well,
Gosh.
Yeah.
Lucky me.
well, thank you all for coming.
Oh, I wanted to say,
Bring something to share.
I wanted to say
Yes.
that back here on this table, there's some of the poppy seeds that are the apple poppies and in a little bag.
Oh,
And you have them out.
Yeah, give me a page that's in here.
There's a picture of the apple poppies, there's a picture of it. And also, there's a apples, little apple patch, if anybody wants that. And some pears and some persimmons in our basket. There's pears and some persimmons here.
Wow.
And those are jacket. Don't forget your,
And these don't.
Listen, I got that.
That's really like, she has to decide.